What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Holistics Highlights podcast. I'm Scott Kaplan with Grande Alejandro Padilla, Big Bad John Browner, and the brains of this operation. She runs all the marketing at Torrey Holistics and California Holistics, Ruthie Edelson. Hi, Ruthie.
Hi, guys. How's it going?
It's going really well. Yourself?
It's going. I'm over here in East County.
Must be nice and cold out there today.
It's been like almost 100 degrees.
I know. We have all here in our hometown of San Diego, and we're all in San Diego County. Everybody's caught Padres fever. And then yesterday, when the Padres were playing game 2 of the National League Championship Series, the whole country gets to watch it on TV, and they hear the announcers say it's like 90 degrees here in San Diego. So if it's 90 degrees in downtown San Diego on the water, how hot is it out in the east part of the county?
Yeah, yesterday was 98. Not sure what it is today, but I know I'm, semi-melting.
What kind of heat, though? What kind of heat?
It is dry. You're right, John. It is dry heat. Sometimes, and lately it's been a little bit more humid, but right now.
The humidity, I'm out. I pass.
Yeah, I agree.
So, Ruthie, pretty excited about everything that's going on in our town.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is that our guest today here on Holistics Highlights, this young lady is coming into a bunch of San Diegans who are excited about the Padres, and she happens to be from Philadelphia, and the Padres are playing the Phillies. So whether you're watching not long after us recording this podcast, or maybe it's years down the road, but we all have this Padre fever. I wonder if our guest will have Philly fever.
Well, okay, side note, my husband's from Philly, but he loves the Padres too. So I've been trying to figure out and ask him, like, what are you feeling? Who are you rooting for? And I have not been able to get a straight answer. Do you think he's waiting to see who wins?
I think he's conflicted. I think that he's caught the brown and gold fever, but his roots are telling him, I'm a Philly boy. I'm a Philly guy. I gotta
tell him he's free to root for the Eagles whenever he wants. He's free to root for the 76ers whenever he wants. You are here now, my friend. You are a Padre fan.
Yeah. And it's not like the Phillies have some long tradition of winning championships over and over and over either. It's very simple to just be like, you know what? I'll take this crappy franchise for this crappy franchise.
Right.
Let's go brown and gold.
Well, here's the thing. Ruthie, you'll love this. I told the guys. So I have a really good friend of mine who's a long-time Phillies fan. He went to the game earlier this week, and he wore Padres gear because he was with a whole bunch of San Diegans who are all Padre fans. He's a San Diegan himself, but he grew up a Phillies fan. So on game 1, he went with all of his friends. He wore a Padres jersey. He told me to be respectful of all of his friends. The next day, he went to the next game by himself and wore his Phillies gear. So one day a Padres fan, one day a Phillies fan.
Yeah. Yeah. I think he told my daughter when she asked him, it's like, I don't love my second wife more than I love my first wife. And she's like, but you don't have a second wife.
Wait, so who did the kids root for? Does he try to get the kids to root for Philly?
Well, one of them doesn't care. I mean, she's excited that the city's electric. The other one is a huge Padres fan. She's got cheese whiz running through her veins, just like Peter.
Oh, that's hilarious. So I'm just curious, because you're in the shop at Torrey Holistics, and I'm sure you're making your way down to California Holistics. I notice that everywhere I go now, people have come to life with the Padres. And look, they had a great year in terms of bringing people through the stands. I mean, they had like 3 million people go visit 82 baseball games.
Yeah.
But now the city is electrified with people with flags on their cars. Everywhere I go, people are walking their dogs. Everybody's wearing Padres gear.
Yeah.
So are you noticing that in the store, that either the employees or just the guests everybody's caught the fever?
Everyone's caught the fever.
Nice.
Yeah.
So everywhere you go,
within just talking amongst, my peers, that's what we're talking about. So we have some pretty big Padre fans in the management and staff.
So if they crack the World Series, are by we, I mean you, prepared to get a Padre pack going. Some sort of a mixture of things to help people either celebrate the victories or deal with the loss.
Yes, that's a great question. I'd like to talk to you a little bit further. What should be in that? I mean, should it be a blunt and a drink and some?
Well, you definitely need a gummy in there. You definitely need a gummy in there because gummies are less scary to certain people.
Yeah.
You definitely need a shot of something.
Some St. Ides, maybe.
Yeah, see, we already working on it. We already halfway there. We got an edible, we got a drink, and then as a victory cigar, we got to put a blunt somewhere.
I agree. I agree.
If they win the World Series, that whole thing up in smoke for me. I'm tell you right now, they win the World Series.
And you're not going to be the only one, dude. You're the only one.
Woo, you can catch me outside, as they say.
Well, you know, what's interesting about that is that our guest will be joining us here in just a matter of moments. Her name is Emily Plizak. And Ruthie, one thing about what Emily is going to promote for us today is she's bringing up a brand, several brands that I know I am very, very familiar with. As a matter of fact, quick story for you. I was in Torrey Holistics. This is about a week and change ago. And I said to one of the bud tenders, this is a woman who I deal with every time I'm in the store. And I said, my girlfriend is having a really hard time sleeping. I hate the fact that she uses Ambien at times. I'm like, I need something for sleep. And she said to me, I'm going to give you, the brand is called Lost Farm. And I happen to love Lost Farm and I love the packaging of Lost Farm. So she got me a pack of Lost Farm gummies. And what she told me was, exactly what you're holding. What she told me was, she said, tell her to bite it in half, suck on it. Don't just take the full and chew it and put it in your stomach. She's like, suck on it so that it just, she said, it doesn't have to metabolize because it's not in your stomach. This is what your bud tender told me. And I delivered this and I'm a hero right now because this Lost Farm gummy that my girlfriend is now using for sleep is working like a charm.
That's amazing. And just so everyone does know, and we'll talk more with Emily about this, but they also have microdose mints to sleep, which are awesome. And the Camino sours and the Camino regulars to sleep, which are all incredible. I use them. It helps me so much.
So I know these brands very well. They've all been recommended to me when I'm in Torrey Holistics. So here is the brand representative, brand ambassador. Emily Plizak is with us now on the Holistics Highlights podcast. Emily, you're jumping right in. We're rolling. Good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Hi, Emily.
Everyone. Thank you so much for having me today. It's an absolute pleasure to represent Kiva.
Yeah, it's so cool. Now, before we get started,
I love a good two-hand wave too. By
yes,
the way.
two hands, very nice. Well, there's four of us, so you're doubling up.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Emily,
I'm making sure I'm waving to all the corners.
Right.
Yes.
We were talking before you got here, so we all call San Diego home. Torrey Holistics is in the north part of San Diego, Sorrento Valley. California Holistics is in the south part in Chula Vista. You're originally from Philadelphia. Went to Temple University, correct?
I am. Yep. I'm a Philadelphia girl born and raised. You can take the girl out of Philly. You can't take the Philly out of the girl.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Now we are all going Padres crazy. I'm wearing a t-shirt today that says National League Championship Series. You see the sign over here, LFGSD. Alex is wearing his NLCS hoodie. Philly girl. I mean, are you rooting for your Phils?
Absolutely. I have to admit, I was a little heartbroken with the loss last night. You guys slammed it with an 8-5 win. I mean, I was a little hurt, I have to admit, but you guys really played hard last night. And I just hope that our Phillies can get our momentum back tomorrow. I don't know. You guys put us in a really interesting corner last night. So we'll see if we can come out of it.
I love it, man. I do. It's just so perfect that today you're joining us to talk about all these brands that you represent. But little did we know, Phillies fan, 4 Padres fans, the National League Championship Series of 2022 happening right now in our 2 respective cities, and both cities going absolutely nuts right now as we're just a few games away from the World Series. I can tell you this, we've never been this excited about baseball in this town.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, you guys have taken a couple of years to get to postseason. I'm glad that you're finally here. We had a huge hype back in 2008 when we won the World Series. So as much as I could say, I really hope we take it home. I also love a good underdog story, and I really hope that you guys can maybe beat us out and get a championship. I don't know. I'm all about having other people win too.
Nice. Just a happy person. I'm happy when you win.
I want everybody to be happy. I want everybody to win. That's what life's all about.
Right on.
That's the least Philly thing you'll ever say.
I'm a diamond in the rough coming from that city, I would say.
So Ruthie, you and Emily, do you guys know each other? Because a lot of times when we have guests on, it's because folks have come into the shop and they've worked with you and your staff. Do you guys know each other? You have a relationship?
No, I've never met Emily, but the staff, the reps, everyone that has come through our doors from Kiva, we have such a special relationship with them. They're amazing. I work very closely with our San Diego rep, but Emily is in LA and probably oversees, bigger territory.
Yeah, I actually, a few years ago, I used to do bi-weekly demos at the Torrey Holistics location. So I might not have met you there, Ruthie, but I was just transitioning out of a brand ambassador program into what is now my role as community engagement manager. So I oversee a little bit of our social community, our fan base community, sending swag and all kinds of different sweet treats to keep our consumers and our fans super stoked to be Kiva, part of the Kiva family. But I also manage a lot of our customer service too. So any type of inquiries, complaints, anything that comes in through the website, I manage and make sure they're handled.
So you guys have so much good stuff. Is there something that you want to get out there more than others, or do you just let the product kind of speak for itself?
So we like to let it speak for themselves. We have 5 different types of products, right? So they all have a little bit of something different to offer. At first, when we came into the space, we were more of that like micro dosing type of company. We really wanted to start low and slow, get everybody introduced to cannabis in a really familiar and a sweet kind of way. And as we're exploring different types of cannabis extractions, we're realizing that people like different doses, 10 milligrams, 5 milligrams, 2.5, different ratios with CBN, CBD, things like that. So we're such a company that leans on what consumers want and try to innovate products for different consumers across the board. So from our Petraments that are super low and slow at 2.5, and then our Lost Farm gummies, like you guys were talking about earlier, those are 10 milligrams with a live resin. So they pack a little bit of a bigger punch than our Petras would. Yeah.
Can we start there with Lost Farm? I have bought Lost Farm brand gummies for years. Probably, I'm guessing, Ruthie, that chances are I was in your office and we were talking about some things and you probably recommended them to me, gave me some samples. I used them. I liked them. And then every time I would come back into the shop, I would pick them up, like if I were picking up for a couple of friends or whatever, I'd say, hey, I brought you some of these because these are really awesome. But the story I told earlier is you were just coming in, Emily, about one of the bud tenders at Torrey Holistics suggesting it for sleep for my girlfriend. And she told me, don't take the full 10 milligrams, take half and suck on it rather than chewing it up and swallowing it. She said it'll release faster. At least that was her experience and that was her advice. Talk to us about the Lost Farm brand and the different varieties within it.
Yeah, absolutely. So Lost Farm is really such a different innovation than we've ever explored with Kiva products. Our chocolates have the cold water hash. Our gummies have, our Camino gummies and the Petraments have that distillate, but Lost Farm is completely different. They're all infused with live resin, which is really true to the plant, true to that strain specific cannabinoid and terpene profile. So every single gummy, every single chew is strain specific. So when we say strain specific, that means all of the cannabinoids and terpene profile in that specific cannabis flower are really captured in such a way where it just vitalizes those types of cannabinoids and compounds in the plant that you would get similarly to smoking, but you're ingesting it and consuming it in a different way. So like the bud tender had referenced to you, eating it just slowly in your mouth, that's similar to a high that you would get from smoking cannabis flower. That's because your sublingual glands actually adhere to the cannabinoids a little bit quicker than it would having to travel through your digestive system and then disperse through your liver. So that's something interesting that I really love about the live resin is not only is just encapsulating the true magic and the cannabinoids of the plant, but also having it strain specific in a way where it still gives you that type of flower inhalable experience.
Wow.
I have a question for Emily. So when I was with Scott and John and Alex's listeners in December, I remember getting a question that someone had said, I take this edible and I feel one thing, and I'll take, another edible that has the same milligrams, but I get a totally different feeling from it. So can you explain a little bit of like your Caminos versus maybe Camino Sour, since they're both 10 milligrams, but the difference in a feeling someone might get from a Camino Sours versus a Lost Farm Chews or Lost Farms?
Yeah, absolutely. So the difference is really that true extraction, right? I was just kind of talking about the live resin and how different that can be. Our Camino and our Camino Sours are made with a distillate. So that's pure THC distillate that we then infuse other natural terpenes to kind of give you that desired, tailored experience, right? We have our Bliss gummies, we have our chill gummies, sleep, all kinds of different experiences that we're trying to give our consumers when they're desiring a certain effect. So while Lost Farm is more honoring that strain specific and really more for the people like the connoisseurs, we kind of call them, the ones who really know the cannabinoid profiles and terpene profiles they're looking for. The Caminos are more set up and ready to go for people who might not know the terpene blends or know what sativa or know what indica really does for them. So we wanted to make it a really familiar and easy experience for our consumers to have that desired effect. And Camino and Camino Sours, they're very similar. The biggest difference, though, is that our Caminos have gelatin and are 5 milligrams, and our Camino Sours pack a heavier punch with 10 milligrams, and they're actually made with pectin. So they're a bit of a vegan-friendly option, similar to our Lost Farm brands.
So as time goes on, like more and more people are finally giving cannabis a shot, and it's becoming more mainstream, for lack of a better term. But if you are new and you are trying to figure out what the best entry point is for a gummy or a sour or any sort of edible, what do you recommend? Because you're clearly very knowledgeable. And it's like, if I'm looking at all these things, it's super overwhelming. You're like resin and sativa, like you just said, like what's a great entry point?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. So the first thing that I always ask people is, what is your desired effect? Are you trying to take cannabis to sleep, relieve pain, relieve anxiety, maybe just get a little high? Like, what is your end goal? That way I can really get you the right product and the right extraction that I think would be best for you. I always recommend our Camino original gummies just because they are a lighter dose at 5 milligrams and you can bite them in half. And then they have those different desired experiences that if somebody wants to chill, we have our wild berry. If somebody wants to get a little uplifted, we have our pineapple habanero. I like to start with the Petraments for anyone who's never tried cannabis before. Yep.
This is it right here. Mommy mints. Highly recommend this if you're feeling a little overwhelmed in the morning on your way to work. You pop one of these, or the kids are driving you crazy. Pop one of these. I love this. And Alex, I have a lot of friends that are entry to cannabis. So it's this, and then to sleep, which we're all having issues sleeping. I give them this. And then typically 6 months to a year later, they're starting to ask me for other things.
So Petra mints is what.
Yeah, those are amazing, you guys. They're my favorite.
So these are all like lower dosage, yeah?
All super low dose. Yeah, they all are around 2.5 milligrams of THC. The only difference, blackberry CBN is 2 milligrams of THC, 1 milligram of CBN. So CBN is that cannabinoid that's, I don't want to compare it to melatonin, but for people who don't really understand what CBN does, it's a cannabinoid in the plant that's similar to melatonin, helps you sleep, helps you get into that really relaxation state, and keeps you pretty asleep as well. I would say gives me really great dreams. And I think that just attributes to the fact that it knocks me into my REM cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Is there, so with so many, like she just said, Ruthie, there's so many problems with people sleeping. Emily, as a company, is this something that you guys are focused on, producing more products that are sleep friendly? Or
Absolutely.
Is this something where you guys have a department and you just kind of let them do their thing?
No, 100. We're 100% all in on building what we call the dream team, or a sleep suite of different products. We don't want to just offer
Dream Team's a great name. It's a great name.
That is a funny
we got
name.
our dream team.
Mm-hmm.
It's really and we have our Midnight Mint Bar. We have our Terra Bites milk and cookies, our Midnight Blueberry Camino gummies, which is our highest seller. And I'm sure, Ruthie, you probably see it in store too. Everybody gobbles up the Midnight Blueberry Camino gummies.
There you go, Alex. You got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think Mark can fall asleep without these.
Yeah. Are those the sours?
No, those are the originals. Yeah.
Here we got the sours. This is new.
The Blackberry Dream. So
And
those
then
are for
chocolates.
And the milk and cookies. Those are really hard to stop at just one. I have to admit.
They're so good.
Well, that's, you know what that just did is that, like, for example, the Terra chocolates, the ones that you were just holding up, Ruthie.
Yeah.
Like those are, I'm with you, Emily. Like when you have one of those, you're like, these are so good that I actually want to have more, but I know that I probably shouldn't, because I got to remember the effect. These are not M&Ms that I'm just putting in my mouth, you know?
Exactly.
But speaking of chocolate bars, and because here we're talking about gummies, talk to us about the Kiva chocolate bars and what the desired effects are from the different products in that line.
Yeah. So the Kiva bars are really what started it all. Christy and Scott, our founders, were actually two people who decided that they wanted to create a more familiar and really lower dose product that people could feel trusted to try. You know, all those horror stories where somebody ate a whole brownie and then it's like, whoa, they didn't get the effect. Our chocolate bars were really what started it all. And we have so many different flavors in our milk chocolate. We have milk chocolate, churro chocolate. We have a dark chocolate bar, a dark chocolate blackberry bar. As you can see here, we have some really awesome new flavors that had come out just within the last year. Birthday cake bar with white chocolate, the everything bagel seasoning. Oh my gosh, it is fantastic. It was a collaboration we did with the Yeasty Boys in LA. And then s'mores, which it's kind of funny. If you put a Kiva s'mores within a s'mores, it's like a Kiva s'mores inception.
Oh man.
Which one?
That's a good idea.
Which one would you prefer though? Would you prefer the birthday cake or the s'more?
S'mores all the way. I have to admit, s'mores all the way. It has that really nice crunchy granola, graham cracker consistency on the back with little mini marshmallows. They're so stinking cute. And then the delicious, just like milk buttery blend of our s'mores bar. My mouth is watering now just thinking about it.
That is really, that sounds great.
Description.
That sounds good.
They have seasonal flavors that come out.
Browner, is that a s'more you would eat?
Yes.
Mr. I've never had a s'more in my life.
Yeah, man.
We got to change that.
Yeah.
The South Side of Chicago.
Oh, he's very.
I
listen. We're carrying over like our regular show to this show now. He is very anti-s'more.
Oh yeah. No thanks.
I'm going to invite you over to my house and we're going to make s'mores in the back fire pit because it is so delish.
And that sounds so good. Taking the Kiva s'mores chocolate bar and replacing like the typical milk chocolate Hershey bar.
Exactly.
That sounds amazing.
Oh yeah.
You guys should do a s'more kit.
We actually do. When we do bud tender events from time to time, we actually have a live s'mores station, sometimes a chocolate fondue station as well. We like to give back to our bud tender community and make sure we're thanking them for not only educating our consumers, but really we wouldn't be as trusted of a brand if it wasn't for our bud tenders in the field actually telling our consumers about our products.
Did you also mention that, because I love this also, like if I'm going to get a bagel, I want an everything bagel. I will buy from like Trader Joe's the everything salt, and I'll put it in everything, eggs or literally everything. I love it. You mentioned a Kiva chocolate bar with the everything stuff in it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So the one thing that about our chocolate bars is not necessarily are all of these toppings infused throughout the whole bar, but as you open up the wrapper, it's a wonderful surprise. That back of the bar is fully coated with that everything bagel seasoning that you see in that bowl right there. Mm-hmm. And it's actually a blend that we had collaborated with the Yeasty Boys. It's a well-known bagel truck in SoCal in LA. We have a really good relationship with those guys over there. And so they gave us their trusted seasoning blend. We put it on the back of a dark chocolate bar. And I'll tell you, like, I'm a little bit of a picky eater, so I wasn't sure about the sweet and the salty and the garlic and onion powder. It's fantastic. It's got an interesting crunch, really wonderful finish.
Wow.
What's that Leonardo DiCaprio line? You had my interest, but now you have my attention. This is what I'm talking about. That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Emily, how did you get into this? Because in, just all of us doing some homework before you got here, you were in Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. From what I read, you moved out to LA because you wanted to get into the talk show biz. And how did you wind up getting into, working for Kiva and becoming a brand ambassador and, working your way up in the company? How'd that happen?
Yeah. So it's funny enough, Kiva kind of fell into my lap. I was working for a couple of companies. I was creating content, reporting at different cannabis events, educating on cannabis for a couple of different networks, just digital YouTube channels and things like that. And I started to connect with different brands as I was making content, posting on social media and things. And one of their trade marketing managers reached out to me and was like, hey, I see your content. I see you have a lot of cannabis education and experience. I'd love to share an opportunity that we have for a brand ambassador role. Would you be interested? And I've been working with Kiva ever since. That was back in 2019. They kept me through the pandemic. I worked remotely during the pandemic, even though we had a unfortunate layoff with our field workers, obviously not being able to be in store. But they kept me along. I really grew in my professional growth. And now I'm managing our social, our customer service, and our consumer community.
That's cool. That's really cool. Brown, I know you got one question you like to ask everybody who's here as our guest. Would you like to take it away?
Yeah. So, Emily, I ask the tough questions around here. I'm what they like to call the Black Walter Cronkite.
Okay.
So,
really?
The what?
See, that one's too young. He
not the Black Barbara Walters.
Well, that too. I change it up. I gotta, gotta be versatile.
The Black Walter Cronkite.
Okay. So, when was the first time you got high?
Oof. So God. Is it crazy that I don't remember? Probably because I've smoked too much. No, I'm just, no, it was actually funny enough. It was my freshman year of college. I went to an all-girl Catholic school for high school, and I felt like if I were to try any cannabis in high school, like God was going to come down and smite me. So when I started going to college and I started realizing outside of Catholic school that there was, other communities that I could get into, and that I could make choices that God wasn't going to smite me down. I smoked a blunt for the first time.
Where were you when you did it? Where?
I was in Philly, man. Of course, in Pennypack Park, across the street from my parents' house, down in the park where we used to have all the keg parties back in Philly.
Nice.
And it was fantastic. A lot of my friends had told me even prior to trying, I'm a chatterbox. I am very much a Energizer bunny. And they were like, I think weed would be good for you, man.
Little did they know.
It's funny, like we've done so many of these now, like every time you ask that question, it's all kind of similar. It's always like, oh, I was in like some like alley. I was in some like corner.
I was in a park.
I was in some park. Like, so it was always like hiding something. Like in 20 years, the kids from now, they're like, oh, I was at this like boutique, like weed bar, like
lounge.
Lounge. Yeah. Like,
oh, totally. I mean, my mom still says that I work for a confection company. I don't think she always adds cannabis confection company because there's still that slight stigma there coming from PA where it's not recreational. So the stigma is slowly breaking down, I'm hoping, but yeah, I mean, it was definitely one of those things. I felt like I had to do it behind closed doors.
Yeah. Times have changed so much that when I was in high school or right after, again, I was hiding it from my parents. Whereas now my kids are all in college. And when I go to visit them, they're like, hey, Dad, can you, do you mind bringing me a few things? Like, can you stop by Torrey Holistics and bring a few things? And I'm like, if I tell them no, or like, I won't do that, like, what kind of hypocrite am I? So, yeah,
You became the plug.
I guess so. I guess I did.
Exactly.
I guess
plug.
I've been
That's
called
something he never thought he'd ever be
Yeah,
called.
that was-
Ever.
Never. You just like kind of gave him street cred.
Yeah, you gave him some credit right now.
That's right. They know me
Yeah.
as the plug. Hell yeah. Emily, it is great to talk to you for the first time, and hopefully this will be one of many. We love the Kiva products, love Lost Farm. Alex, you were
I'm gonna
holding
find
up.
that birthday cake chocolate.
Oh, you are.
Yeah.
I'm going to try the everything. That's the one I want to try.
Oh, I didn't even show you guys the back of the everything. There's a picture on here that I totally missed. It looks freaking bomb.
Yep. There you go.
Yeah.
But you guys should also keep an eye out. Not only do we have these fun rotationals, but like Ruthie's holding up here, we do fun collaborations with other extraction brands too. Right here, this is a collaboration we did with Jetty, who's actually one of our really close buds in the industry. There's such a well-known craft artisanal concentrate company that we decided to collab with them. So we have 2 of those SKUs. We also had a collaboration with St. John, as well as Huff Worldwide. They're more on the apparel side. But we're doing all kinds of different things. Holiday as well coming up. We have our peppermint bark, our peppermint patty terabytes. And then right now we're in spooky season. So if you guys don't get your hands on some blood orange thrills and chills, you're going to miss out. I'm telling you, they are spooktacular.
Spooktacular.
I love it. I love it. Emily, it is great to be with you. Thank you, Ruthie. What a terrific introduction. And we look forward to meeting you in person, perhaps if you get down here to San Diego when we're up in LA.
I would love that. I would love that. Thank you guys for having me, and I'd love to come back again.
Yeah, we'd love to have you back. Hey, to everybody who's watching on YouTube, for everybody that's listening across all the different audio podcast platforms, thanks for being with us. Make sure next time you're in Torrey Holistics or California Holistics, or maybe even if you're traveling up to Mammoth Holistics, wherever you may be, make sure you check out these Kiva products. Emily, great to be with you. Ruthie, thank you so much. And we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks, Emily.